You tweeted 3 years ago.
Oh, well.
Anyone who believes proof of stake can work is either one, completely clueless at how and why Bitcoin works at all, or two, a con artist using it as a buzzword to promote a worthless scam like Ethereum. Do you still believe that Ethereum is a scam and in general proof of stake? You're either clueless if you think it's interesting.
Yeah, no, I still stand by that. I think
Would you classify Ethereum as a shitcoin in your
for
mind?
sure, it's the mother asshole from which the shitcoins spring.
It's the king shitcoin? All right.
Yeah. I think the key thing is, the way to think about it, there's another tweet from a couple of years ago, which is essentially proof of work was like the invention of flight. Like we've got in this machine and we managed to get it to fly off the ground. And proof of stake is, hey, we found a great way to make airplanes cheaper and faster by not making them fly, by keeping them on the ground. Like the invention of proof of work, the reason the entire digital currency space exists is because Bitcoin operates based on proof of work. If Bitcoin was based on proof of stake, it would have died or been shut down from day one.
But that's a hypothesis, and a lot of people believe that, and I think they have a lot of strong support. But basically, proof of work is grounded in physics in the real world. The proof of stake is more about
It's politics. It's the Federal Reserve. It's exactly what we have. It's just a group of people who get to decide the rules, and it's essentially a system that is, it's a security. It's a company. So it's not an innovation in any sense. It's a step backward to what we already had, which is you get a bunch of people in charge of the money. Now, the only reason it survives in this, and the reason I call these things a scam, and I have no problem with calling them a scam, is because they fraudulently present themselves as being decentralized. They present themselves as just being a different way of doing decentralization than Bitcoin, when it's not. It's just they're riding Bitcoin's coattails, and they're riding the fact that most people don't quite understand what Bitcoin is and how it works to portray themselves as a cheaper, better, more efficient way of doing what Bitcoin does. It's not. It's a less legally accountable way of doing what central banks do.
right. So, and the basic criticism is that there's a group of people, sometimes a very small group of people, that can control the parameters of the operation of the system. So
Exactly.
over time, you can't trust. It's not gold under the mattress. It doesn't have that kind of hardness.
It's not property, and
stability.
I really very strongly recommend your discussion with Saylor for people who want to elaborate more on this. There's a bunch of people in charge, which means that, legally they should be doing this under securities law. But even as an anarchist, if I don't want to care about that, the technical implication of it is this is never going to be adopted as a neutral way of transferring value on the internet, because you need something that enemies can trade with one another. You can't have something that has a small group of people in charge because A, the small group of people themselves can be corrupted, and B, they can be coerced. You can put a bunch of people in a room, put a gun to their head, and you can change everything in any of these digital currencies. And that's why I think, you'll find a lot more sympathy among fiaters to shitcoins. The Keynesian economist to Ethereum fanboy pipeline is a very strong one because it's the same thing. It's like you like the idea of people being in charge and money, and you think you're going to be the one who's going to be in charge of money. So you see a lot of this phenomena, and you see the same people that want gold and don't like central banking, they get into Bitcoin.
Yeah. So just to actually push back on a couple of things. So one is fiater. It sounds like I'm trying to be a sophisticated Brit talking about theater, but for many reasons, it's not making me feel good about that. So, day by day, things change. You used to be one of those. So people evolve, people learn. People that are supporters of Bitcoin might eventually become supporters of Ethereum or go back to supporting fiat. We don't know. People evolve for different reasons. You grow up, you mature, or you become enlightened. So I think every single person sort of, as this technology is evolving, as this world is evolving, as wars break out, and the geopolitics change, as the monetary system is constantly put under stress, people will evolve. So we're trying to all figure it out together. That's why open-mindedness here, I think, for people like me at least, seems essential.
I know. So I expect you to be answering all of the spam emails you get.
I will, prince by prince by prince. But no, I don't have a clear understanding. What is a good investment of my time? What is a good investment of my money? That's doesn't seem clear because things are good at promoting themselves. I'm not talking about all, the different kinds of things like Ethereum, altcoins, and so on. I just mean life, like dating, jobs, friendships. Like everybody's advertising themselves as a great investment, right? But you don't know, and you have to keep an open mind. And also, I don't, and be sort of self introspective about what how like biases I operate under and ways I delude myself, like hallucinations that I'm living under. It's like breaking out of all these hallucinations. It's very hard to introspect, thinking like, what are the assumptions under which I lived my entire life that might be actually false assumptions? That's a really difficult thought process to take. It's a dangerous one. Is the Nietzsche, if you gaze long into the abyss gazes into you. It's like Alex Jones talks about this. I mean, he's got demons in his head. So he has like all these conspiracy theories that it holds in his head, but it begins to really destroy him. So it's a psychological burden to carry. So if you question authority, if you question government, if you question culture, the way things have been done, it's really difficult. And the biases you operate under, it's really difficult to question them. So I think like being constantly open-minded and self-critical, not constantly, but a little bit every day is important, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking to somebody. I grew up in Ramallah in Palestine in the West Bank. I've changed my mind on all kinds of different things. The fact that I was even open to the idea of Bitcoin has required an enormous amount of. It's a heck of a journey. So I'd much rather appreciate, direct arguments rather than these kind of general fluffy, you should be, of course, yes, you should be open-minded, but, also you come up with conclusions and you delete spam email sometimes when you know that it is spam because you have to move on with your life. You can't, there's an opportunity cost to considering every spam email. So,
well, to me, okay, so I'll just say from my relatively sort of shallow perspective, or almost like a technical person, mostly. My understanding of economics is weak. Proof of stake is not obviously a weak consensus mechanism relative to proof of work. So that's not obvious to me that goes wrong and becomes corrupted in the way that governments get corrupted, because it still seems decentralized. Now, your criticism of governance is an interesting one, but if you put that aside, it still is a decentralized mechanism, and it's more transparent than the mechanism that governments operate on.
It isn't. It's exactly what the Federal Reserve is. The Federal Reserve is a proof-of-stake system. The Federal Reserve is owned by its constituent banks. And so the rules of the Federal Reserve and the regulations are determined by the ownership, which is the banks. So it's exactly what the Federal Reserve is.
But it's too backdoor. The agreements between the banks and the Federal Reserve, it feels like a lot of those agreements are made between individuals that sort of behind the scenes. It's opaque.
Yes, but the only way that a proof-of-stake system will take off is if you have a military to force people to use it. That's the thing. Ultimately, there's no way that it's going to take off on a free market. And that's why, for all of the bluster about wanting to move to a proof-of-stake system, Ethereum have been saying this since 2014. It's now been 8 years, that they've been talking about it. We still haven't seen the proof-of-stake system operational in the wild. It's vaporware for all practical intents.
Cardano's proof-of-stake.
It's potentially. I mean, you can do it in a centralized way, but can it survive? Can it last for a long time? I don't think so. And I think, it can last perhaps initially with marketing, with centralized marketing, you can promote it, but ultimately, user demand, the people that are not interested in speculating because they want to get rich on this, the people that are going to use it, they're going to want to use it because they can trust that it is not going to be messed with.
Yes.
So
but there's also applications on top. So Lightning Network, but there's applications on top. Like, well, the reason I'm interested in things like Ethereum is you might think it's ridiculous. I thought it was ridiculous, but NFTs. Right, so what's you can have NFTs probably on top of Bitcoin.
But you don't, because there's no marketing on in Bitcoin, because all of these ideas get promoted on proprietary shitcoins because
Yes. But there's the network effects of ideas, of applications. So they just take off for some reason. And human civilization is such that you get excited about stuff and large amounts of people believe a thing and they start to get excited and it actually has impact. Like the fact that NFTs can have an impact on the art world or the world in general is wild to me. But it worked. So
well,
the question is,
David Rothko has an impact on the art world. Doesn't say much.
what I'm saying is ideas have, we're collective intelligent beings and we can believe a thing and that has power. That has led to major wars and all those kinds of things. So it's interesting to me that NFTs took hold. And the question is there distributed, dApps, is there's distributed apps built on top of different blockchains that might somehow transform the world? You have to kind of keep an open mind to that. Because right now it's like I'm the same place with that as I am with like virtual reality. It's like, all right, seems like a really intellectually promising set of ideas here, but there's something either technically or socially not quite taking hold. Why? And I don't know what the right answer is. So with virtual reality, what's the right answer? Is it just technically the latency is too high, or the games are not good enough, or is it a fundamentally flawed idea that you can live in a virtual world and enjoy it, that the physical world is just orders of magnitude better, or a two-dimensional display is just as good as a three-dimensional world? I don't know. Why is virtual reality not taking off? It's been since the 80s. Right.
I don't have strong opinions on it, on the prospect of the technology. I don't want to ever imagine myself having something on my eyes. I'd rather just go out into the real world. But I don't have strong opinions on virtual reality. I do have on dApps and NFTs.
Yeah, what's your criticism of sort of dApps and NFTs? Is this a distraction? It's a way to sell a flawed technology?
The problem with the apps is, it's just the economics of it make no sense, in the sense that, currently, if you wanted to run an application, whatever the application is, you want to run it on AWS, you pay a specific amount of money. You want to run it on your own laptop, you pay a specific amount of money per kilobyte of data. If you wanted to run the same thing on a distributed ledger, where you're distributing the data over thousands of computers worldwide, it's infinitely more expensive. And that's why we haven't seen any of these dApps take off. And that's why I've said this many years ago. The only working application of blockchain technology is Bitcoin. Because with Bitcoin, you're with a few hundred bytes of data. With a few bytes of data, you could move $1 billion worth of economic value from here to China and move it safely and reliably. So that power, I can't see it being justified for anything that is not as mission critical as moving large amounts of value, which require very little amount of information. So when you look at all of the buzzwords that the Ethereum and other altcoin marketing people like to use, and if you want to wonder really why we come to this kind of aggression, is because we've heard all of this. I've had all of these hucksters come to me for years. I've had people in 2016 talk to me about how Ethereum blockchain technology is going to revolutionize real estate deeds in India. And I remember this guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but this guy was, 2016, and he sold a lot of shitcoins, and he made a lot of money off of shitcoins based on all these silly ideas. We're going to have blackjack on a distributed ledger. We're going to have Indian real estate on a distributed ledger, and it's concern trolling marketing. There's a problem with real estate in India, real estate deeds. Blockchain fixes this. Buy my shitcoin, and then people buy the shitcoin. Indian real estate isn't fixed, and the guy gets rich, and they move on. But I'm still waiting for a dApp to actually emerge. It's the promise that we keep hearing is something completely world-changing, world-transforming, and the reality is not one app. There's one of my good friends, Jimmy Song. Eventually, they refused to go ahead with the bet. He wanted to bet with one of the Ethereum people about these dApps. The Ethereum people are constantly saying those dApps are going to grow and they're going to have so many applications and they're going to have so many ideas. And the reality is all the apps that work are centralized apps. So there is no Uber on the blockchain. There is no Twitter on the blockchain. There is no social media on the blockchain because these are businesses, and businesses require a centralized authority to make decisions. You can't have it be decentralized.
Yeah, listen, you're frustrated, and I could see it over a few years of just having dealt with a humongous influx of charlatans.
I wouldn't say frustrated. I'm amused, and it's water off my back.
No, but a man that uses and a community that uses the word shitcoin is a little bit. No, you call it amusement, and I think amusement is a way to deal with the frustration. It's a channeling of frustration. Like sometimes when you have to deal with bullshit, the best way is just to laugh at the absurdity of it all, and that's what you mean by amusement. But the fact is, like, there's things like artificial intelligence for what is it? How many decades? 6, 7 decades has been off and on promising to change everything, and it has failed time and time again to deliver to the promise. But that doesn't mean there's something fundamental and really powerful about both the small and the big things going on within the actual research and development and within those communities. There's a lot of exciting developments, and the scale at which those developments might actually have a transformative impact, the time scale, is unclear. It seems like we certainly overpromise. We dream too big and too aggressively in the AI community, but in a lot of
and I'm happy to give people the benefit of the doubt when they're overpromising, but not when they're making their own money. When you start making your own currency, then you don't get the benefit of the doubt. Because if your idea needs you to have a new currency that you print when Bitcoin is out there, then I'm going to go ahead and assume that you're doing this for the money.
Good time to mention that I am actually launching my new coin called LexCoin.
You mean shitcoin? Yes.
Oh, God. I'm going to have to block you with love.